Thank you for joining us for reInvent this year. The platform may have changed, but our commitment to showcasing our customers' innovation remains the same. Collaboration during major capital projects represents a key challenge to the energy industry. Today, I'm going to be talking with ExxonMobil about some work we've done to develop the cloud-native serverless digital project home or DPH platform. This was designed to streamline collaboration during capital project execution. I'm joined on stage by Jane and Erica. My name is Liz Dennett. I'm a solutions architect with AWS. Fun fact about me, I actually grew up in rural Alaska before going on to get a master's and PhD in astrobiology, where I explored how life originated on Earth as part of the NASA Astrobiology Institute. Jane, who I'm joined with, has been with ExxonMobil for 32 years in various roles, including downstream, upstream, and global projects, including being the venture business manager for the development of the Hebron platform in offshore Newfoundland, Canada. Fun fact about Jane is she adopted both of her kids from Russia as a single parent. Erica has been working with ExxonMobil for a decade and has worked on 4 major capital projects in 3 different countries. Erica loves to downhill ski and will always have a place in her heart for skiing in Hokkaido, Japan, which she actually named her daughter after her favorite mountain. Together, Jane and Erica have driven the creation and delivery of the DPH platform. And today, I'm honored to be joining them on stage to walk through some of the background, motivation, and key outcomes for DPH. First off, Jane, I want to talk to you about capital projects. ExxonMobil is known for its world-class execution of capital projects. What challenges did you embark here to solve?
Thanks, Liz. First I want to give just a little bit of context on, just what are capital projects in the oil and gas industry. When you step back and think about a capital project, it can be anything from a couple $1,000s to multi-billion dollars. And those multi-billion dollar projects are pretty complex with incredible supply chains, complex commercial agreements, all of which at times sometimes requires a small city to go build. So we have partners called EPCs. These partners do the engineering, they do the procurement, and they do the construction in order to pull together pieces from around the world to build an asset that we ultimately put into operations. And the timeline for these, from the time we fund to the time we actually are able to produce oil or gas, is anywhere from 3 to 5 or 6 years. So we ramp up really quick with tens of thousands of people and then ramp back down pretty quickly. And that ecosystem is not repeated project to project. So if you think about digital and you think about the difficulty of scaling anything digitally, having an ecosystem that is not easily repeatable has got its complexities. I contrast this with our manufacturing business where, those folks are there, same people, same processes, same equipment, day in and day out. And at the end of the day, we know how hard it is to put digital on something that's pretty steady state. But that's not the capital project business. And so when we looked at the challenges of what we needed to solve here, quite frankly, it was really at the interface. We needed to figure out how to handle with an ecosystem that is as complex and ever-changing, how we need to manage that interface better. The typical project handles thousands and thousands of emails and thousands of documents manually, and all by heroics. We need to figure out how we change that environment and make people more productive and efficient.
Very interesting. So why did you decide to go with AWS for the DPH platform? We understand you have some other choices with cloud providers, many of whom may have been easier to get internal buy-in for.
Well, it's interesting. Amazon is a household name. It's in my household. So when I think about Amazon, I think about innovation, I think about customer service, and I think about, getting products and services that I like. So Amazon delivers. So when AWS came into the ExxonMobil offices and shared the work backwards process that they use, quite frankly, knowing their reputation and the credibility that they bring when they walk in the door, it was pretty easy for us to really see what this particular framework was going to do for us in the digital space for ExxonMobil.
Absolutely. And working backwards in particular is a core part of who Amazon is and who AWS is. From your perspective, did you start with the working backwards process, and why is that important?
Yeah, we started with the work backwards process because what really resonated to me was, ExxonMobil is very internally focused at times, and I think a lot of businesses, we forget about the customer and we lose sight of who it is we really need to target and who we need to be thinking about. And especially in digital. And so one of the things that we really struggled with, and it took us a while in one of the sessions that we participated in, was figuring out who our customer was. So for ExxonMobil in the capital project space, we've got tons of stakeholders. So it's the project manager, it's the project engineer, it's the operations organizations, and I talked about our ecosystem, our EPC partners. And, we needed to figure out what is the pain point we need to solve and who is the customer. And we ultimately landed on our EPC partner. And the reason for that is if our EPC partner is successful, so are we. And then we went through the process of the press release, which I thought was pretty fun. We had a little fun with it where we came up with the name for our platform, which was Awesome, AWSEM. And we went through, and that process took us through what are the requirements? What is the level of definition that we need, and why? What are the benefits? And so that press release helps articulate very cleanly and crisply those items. And then we moved into the FAQs. And, change management is pretty hard. And I think sometimes we don't spend enough time with it. And I think when I think about the FAQs, folks may kind of blow that off in, they're just, frequently asked questions and what value could that possibly add to a digital solution? Well, at the end of the day, it's those naysayers and it's those things that we often forget that we really do have to address, those concerns, those questions as it relates to change that we really need to do think about. And those FAQs really helped us work through what really could trip us up that we needed to have addressed very early on.
So then what did you do after the working backwards and once you had those FAQs?
Well, we went and as interesting as it was, we actually talked to a number of our EPC partners. We brought them in. They got to meet Amazon. They were very intrigued. And it was a very different approach for them, working with ExxonMobil as owner-operator and in this digital space, and very collaboratively. And, we aligned that the pain point was really around technical queries. And technical queries, if you can imagine these big multi-billion assets, very technically sophisticated, there's got to be a lot of questions around, how we want to build it. What are our specifications? And so thousands and thousands of emails and heroics take place between the EPC and the owner-operator like ExxonMobil to make sure we have clarity on what the expectations are for what we want to build. So finding a more collaborative way in order to interface and exchange and resolve any of those technical queries was really a huge opportunity for both the EPC partner and ExxonMobil. So we've used that as our first POC, and that's what we move forward with.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jane, for your perspective and providing more context for how Amazon's culture of innovation and working backwards ultimately helped to enable ExxonMobil to streamline technical queries. Now, Erica, I have a few questions for you. Can you tell us about the engagement model that ExxonMobil used with AWS to deliver DPH?
Happy to, Liz. AWS engaged two partners to help build DPH. The first is Paraveda Solutions, a consulting partner of AWS that is also supporting DPH in production. The second is Project 202, who provided their expertise and insights during the development process to improve the user experience. At the end of the day, it's a one-team effort. What makes our capital projects team successful is how we manage our teams. And the best teams that I have seen are those that act as one team. It was truly a pleasure to work with this team who is very hardworking, competent, and fun.
That's so good to hear. So what business workflow is this new platform addressing?
The first workflow within DPH is document review, a one-stop shop where engineers can review documents and drawings and collaborate with their team members in one place. So multiple reviewers can be in the same document making comments at the same time. And by seeing one another's comments during this review process, it makes it more efficient, allowing others to see what other people are saying instead of relying on email and other methods of collaboration to do that. Document review also automates the routing process, so there's not any manual effort to do so. Once a document is transmitted to the company for review, our engineers have that task in their inbox within minutes. Document review also enables streamlined data analytics that help provide insights to the project team, and it is really already in use around the globe in the US, Europe, and Asia, and we plan to continue to scale out to multiple projects around the world.
That is incredible. How exactly is DPH improving the experience for users during that document review workflow?
Users are really excited. They said that it is intuitive to use as expected with an AWS product. The look and feel of the platform is really user-friendly, which makes them happy to adopt it. They have also said that the user experience is better than previous processes that we've used. It is really exciting to have users lined up at the door to start using this workflow.
So, looking into the architecture, why was it important for ExxonMobil to develop DPH based on a cloud-native and serverless architecture?
Yeah, we wanted the agility and the lower total cost of ownership that a cloud-native serverless architecture provides. We could stand up a whole new DPH in a whole new region tomorrow, allowing for this much-needed agility for projects using DPH around the globe. The lower total cost of ownership is also occurring because we no longer need to manage servers, install patches, and upgrades. And we were able to achieve this by using AWS Lambda under a service-oriented architecture.
Data security and operational integrity are key to delivering any cloud solution. So how did AWS meet ExxonMobil's data security and support requirements?
Amazon worked really well with our solution architects to ensure that DPH met ExxonMobil's IT solution requirements. To meet our encryption requirements, ExxonMobil has full control over the data at rest and the data in transit. The data at rest is encrypted using encryption keys that we own and manage. The data in transit is encrypted using TLS certificates. API authorization using Cognito user pools via SSO are used to meet our end user authentication requirements.
So then with this, what business outcomes are you projected to achieve?
Yeah, so DPH went live in March of this year, and based upon initial feedback, we're seeing that reviewers are saving time per document review due to the ease of use of this platform. So we project that based upon those time savings that we are seeing, multiplied by about 15,000 documents per major capital project, we are expecting to see approximately 30,000 engineering hours saved. The automatic routing of documents has also taken that manual process away from our document controllers, saving them up to 40% of their time as well. So these time savings add up and allow our project team members to focus on less administrative tasks and more important items that can help enable the success of the project. Within my personal experience of working with users of this platform, they're saying that features are easy to use, DPH is seamless, and it's a big jump for document review within DPH. Customers love it, and because they love it, they're using it, and we're starting to see the benefits. And in the project world, we love to talk. So when one project loves it, everybody else wants it. And so document review is really starting to speak for itself.
Wow, that is huge. So now what's the near-term plan for DPH?
Yeah, so as we already discussed, DPH supports the document review workflow. And we are currently working on the next edition of DPH that further enhances document review and provides new business workflows such as technical queries and requests for information. Essentially what Jane had talked about in the beginning as a simple technical question and answer between our contractors and us that will hopefully reduce the friction between us and our partners. This new edition is going to be scalable to any size project within global projects, big and small, and projects are lined up to start using it.
Wow. So So Jane, what is your long-term vision for how DPH could integrate with other capital project processes?
At the end of the day, our project teams, our EPC partners, the folks in their ecosystem all want one place to go. So we're looking to use this as one place, whether it's a custom workflow or a custom application or something that we end up buying, quote, off the shelf. And you go in and the project team can seamlessly work with their partners, collaborating, reducing the friction and improving the productivity and efficiency so that we're all successful, because that's really what matters at the end of the day.
Well, thank you, Jane, and thank you, Erica, for joining us today to showcase how ExxonMobil has partnered with AWS to help develop the cloud-native serverless platform Digital Project Home, which helps to streamline collaboration during capital project execution. Thank you again for your time, and please fill out the session survey.